I think we're just gonna stand.
I'd like to call the November school board meeting to order. And before we get down to business, we have a new face up here with us that I would like to introduce. This is David Hucks. He is our newest sitting board member. So David, welcome, and I appreciate your willingness to serve.
Thank you.
We also have a newly appointed board member, Steve Cast, and he is out there with us, right there on the front row, and he will be sworn in and he will be seated at our next meeting. So Kelly, would you go ahead and introduce our pledge leader and inspirational reader?
The leader of the pledge will be Micah Jameson. Micah is in Miss Barefoot's first grade class. He lives with his parents, Dawn and J.J. Jameson, and his older brother, Tyler, who is 14. Micah likes to go to Busch Gardens, and his favorite ride is the carousel. He likes to play football with his dad. At school, his favorite subject is math.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our inspirational reader is Evie Weimart. Evie is also in Miss Barefoot's first grade class. She lives with her parents, Rebecca and Daniel, and her little brother, Bentley Ray, who is 3 months old. She likes to do ballet and to sing, and she likes to play with her Barbies in her big dollhouse. Her favorite school subject is PE. Evie will be reading a poem, Wise Old Owl.
Wise old owl sat in a oak. The more he saw, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. Why can't we be like that wise old bird?
Very nice. Thank you, Micah and Evie, for that. Next, we'll have our student presentation titled First Grade Scientist, and a group of students from Mrs. Elistra Barefoot's first grade class at Poquoson Primary School will show a PowerPoint presentation, sing a song, and demonstrate about their study of owls.
Good evening. Dr. Parrish, Dr. Revia, and members of the school board. My class has recently completed their study of our animals unit, and we participated in a fun activity. Through scientific investigation, we dissected owl pellets. We would like to share with you our discoveries.
When I dissect my owl pellet, I think I will find hair and bones. When I dissected my owl pellet, I think I will find fur and bones. In my owl pellet, I found bones and teeth and a little bit of hair. In my owl pellet, I found bones and fur. I thought the owl pellets were awesome. I learned that owl pellets cough up owl pellets. I thought that owl pellets were cool. I learned that owl pellets have hair and bones inside.
before we give you a chance to try it on your own, we do have a song that we want to sing about an owl. So you want to stand up? And we are blessed to have Mrs. Poto here tonight to help us with the musical aspect. Thank you, Ms. Poto.
Is our homework? Thank you.
Now, these owl pellets have been sanitized, in case you were wondering, since they do cough it up and regurgitate it. But, so I have put a little sanitizer for you, but this is what you need to do. You need to unwrap it, and then you need to take it apart and see what you find in there. You've got a bone chart, so you can see if you recognize any. Now, you can be neat with your little utensils, or you can just dive in with your fingers, like most of the children do. They wanted to get in there and see what they could find. And sometimes you have to roll the fur with your fingers to get to the treasures inside. So you might want to roll it with your fingers.
Bones.
Nice.
Bones and teeth.
Teeth. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Skull.
I think I got a hip bone.
The skull.
You did get a skull?
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Little sharp
I
tooth red.
think that's the rodent.
It looks like a little field mouse.
Yep.
Mouse boy at the farm here.
Why did you guys?
Very nice. Like a field mouse walked the farm.
No, I got a good one. I got bones and teeth. And how come Kelly got out of this?
You good? I can pass this down.
Kelly gets out of this. I got bones and stuff. I think I've got a whole skeleton thing there. It's like a whole head. Look at hers. See hers all the farm.
Yeah, I think a mouse bit the farm of this one.
Look at that.
Like a little furry ones. Like a little field mouse had a little
Oh, you found
bad
a
day there.
Look at that. And you have all white fur. I wonder what that was.
It's a pet mouse.
Thank you so much for letting us present tonight. We've been honored to come and present some of our fun days and our scientific explorations with you.
Thank you very much. And, students, we would like to invite all of you to stick around for just a little while. We're going to have a short break later, and the board members would love to come over and talk to you a little more about your owl pellets. So if anybody who can, if you can stick around, that would be great. And Ms. Barefoot, thank you very much as well. Sounds like you're doing a great job. Looks like you're doing a great job. Next, we'll move to our additions and/or modifications to the agenda. Dr. Parrish, do we have any?
We have none this evening.
Okay, then I will turn it over to you for recognitions, please.
Yes, as Mr. Carter moves to the podium, I'd like at this time to invite Mrs. LaJuan Inslee up to the podium. As she comes to the podium, I want to take this opportunity just to personally acknowledge how sorry we are about the loss that she has personally experienced of her husband, Mr. Inslee, but also the loss that we felt as an entire school division as a result of his recent passing. He certainly has been a very important member of our school board.
Ms. Inslee, on behalf of the school board, I want to thank you for sharing Thorben with us during his 7 months on the school board. He was dedicated to the task of helping to ensure that our schools continued to provide an excellent education for all our students. He clearly cared about our community and the children in our schools. We have certainly missed him over the past few weeks. I would like to present you with a certificate from the Poquoson Education Foundation. Thank you. We've also purchased a brick for the Legacy Walk in front of the high school in his memory. And additionally, I'd like to provide you with the gift that all board members receive when they complete their service with the board.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for your sacrifice as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call up Mrs. Sally Smith, and I believe with her we may have her daughters. Her daughter Chris is with her this evening. I'd also like to once again express my condolences on the behalf of our school division, on me personally, for the recent loss of her husband, Bill. We certainly suffered a great loss as a school division with Bill's passing, and he will truly be missed by all of us.
On behalf of the board, I would also like to thank you for the support that you've provided, not only Bill, but for the school board over the more than 3 years that he served with us. He also served as vice chair and chair. He was dedicated to the school division and to the children of Poquoson. He showed tremendous leadership throughout his time on the board and made us a better board as a result. I would also like to present you with the same certificate. Okay, from the Poquoson Education Foundation, and that's an organization of which he worked quite a bit with. We've also purchased a brick for him in memory of his time on the board, and more specifically as the board chair. And I would like to also present you with the gift as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize some of our students. And I know that Mr. Inslee and Mr. Smith knew this is what we were all about. So it's certainly appropriate at this time that we move forward into some student recognition. I'd like to call Jessica Evans forward, please. Jessica is being recognized along with 2 other students for being recognized as a National Merit Commended Student. The National Merit Scholarship Corporation commends certain students for their high scores on the PSAT, outstanding achievement, and exceptional academic promise. Jessica is a senior, and she wants to attend Virginia Commonwealth University to major in painting with a minor in mathematics or English. She is also applying to the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, and the University of Richmond to be on the safe side. Jessica is a member of several school clubs, including Mu Alpha Theta, Key Club, Spanish Honor Society, French Honor Society, as well as both JV and varsity academic challenge teams. She has won numerous awards during her high school years with us. Please join me at this time in congratulating Jessica Evans. And I know we had some traffic issues. Is Tyler Thibodeau, was he able to make it? Or Travis Moore? We'll be sure to get them at the next board meeting and recognize them. Now what we'd like to do is actually recognize our students who work so hard on our high school yearbook. So at this time, I'd like to call forward Catherine Davis and Danielle Michael. And if our teacher sponsor, Mrs. Moore, is here, come forward. The 2011 Poquoson High School Yearbook was selected by the Virginia High School League as the first place winner for outstanding achievement in quality publication service to its school and community. The book was evaluated on concept, coverage, design, writing, and photography. Catherine Davis and Danielle Michael are editors of the yearbook this year and served as staff members on last year's book. So they are accepting the award on behalf of the entire student yearbook staff, and they are accompanied by Mrs. Victoria Moore, who is our yearbook advisor and also a world geography teacher at Poquoson High School. Please join me in congratulating them for being recognized for the yearbook of Poquoson High School by the state.
At this time, we're going to take a short intermission.
took advantage of it.
That's good.
Not really. The ones I use every year are this big.
And there were 7.
Okay, due to recent events, it's been necessary for us to reorganize the board. So at this time, I'm going to open it up to the election of the chairman. Members?
Yes, Mr. Carter, I'd like to nominate to chairman of the Poquoson School Board, Mr. Gary Carter.
I have a second.
Yeah, I'll make a second on that.
Any discussion?
I
Ms.
think he'll be a
McDowell?
good leader.
I'm sorry.
We think he'll be a good leader.
Well, I appreciate that.
He's going to
I will
move right into
do
that.
my best.
No, we have great confidence in you, Gary.
Thank you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Ms. McDowell, could you call for a vote, please?
Mr. Hux?
Aye.
Ms. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Diggs?
Aye.
Mr. Melton?
Aye.
Vice Chairman Carter?
Aye.
The motion passed by a vote of 5-0.
Jumping the gun a
Now
little
he-
bit.
Right,
there,
I
Ms.
tried.
Thank you very much. And obviously, I was not anticipating this job quite this quickly. I was expecting a couple of years to ease into the position and get some excellent mentorship through Mr. Smith. Unfortunately, events didn't turn out that way, so I will accept the job and I'll promise to do my best. So thank you very much for your vote of confidence. At this time, I will open it up to elections for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Robin Sidner to be the vice chairman of the Poquoson City School Board.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion. I think Robin will do a fine job. She's well-spoken. She has a lot of good ideas, and I think she'll do fine. Ms. McDowell, could you call for a vote, please?
Mr. Hux?
Aye.
Ms. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Diggs?
Aye.
Mr. Melton?
Aye.
Chairman Carter?
Aye.
The motion passed by a vote of 5-0.
All right, we will move into presentations and reports, and our first report will be the financial update. And Mr. Bowen, if you could take that for us, please.
Thank you, Chairman Carter. School board members and Dr. Parrish, when we started the school year, we started off talking about budget right away. And I'm going to continue on that message and theme this evening. At the August board meeting, we had presented a list of budget concerns that we thought would have a significant impact on as we move through the 13-14 budget cycle. And as information has come forward, and over the past couple of months, we've shared the details of these concerns with you. But tonight, I want to talk specifically about the local composite index. Just late last week, the Department of Education released the latest update to the local composite index, and it's appropriate now that we discuss that. The local composite index, first of all, it's adjusted every 2 years. It's adjusted in, along with the biennium budget process, excuse me. And the importance of the local composite index is that it's used to determine the locality's ability to pay for education. Now, at the September board meeting, if you recall, I spoke briefly about the re-benchmarking process, and I mentioned that there were 4 categories in which the state funds the school divisions. the single most important category is the standards of quality. And Poquoson receives 90% of its funding through the SOQ. With the local composite index, the state determines, well, first of all, the state determines what the costs are for education for school divisions. And then once Poquoson's costs are determined, then the state applies the local composite index. So the state shares and the locality shares in the cost. And with the way the local composite index works, as the rate goes up, the state pays less. So in this case, what we'll see here is that our rate has actually gone up. The state determines the index for each locality based on a rather complex formula that's been adopted by the General Assembly, and it's been used for many, many years. And the factors used in this formula is largely based on economic data. And if you look closely at the bottom, that the factors are the true value of real estate or real property, adjusted gross income, and taxable retail sales, population, and the average daily membership. Now you'll note that the values for the true value of real property and adjusted gross income comes from the Department of Taxation. And the Weldon Cooper Center provides the information on population, not just for Poquoson, but for all localities statewide. This information, also it's important to know here that the information that's provided and is used on the updated LCI is based on 2009 data. And I'll address that in just a few moments. Our LCI for the next biennium, which is the next 2 years, that starts July 1, 2012 and goes through June 30, 2014, is 0.3816, which is an increase of 8.3%. Now, I don't have the exact figures because we won't know what our specific cost for the next biennium is until the governor releases his budget, until the Department of Education releases their details. However, I did take this rate and applied it to what I know today, which is the 11-12 budget data. And had that rate been in effect, we would have lost somewhere between $400,000 and $432,000. And if I take you back to the previous change, the last biennium, we saw a 10% increase in the LCI, and that equated to almost $500,000. So what Poquoson could see in a 4-year period is a loss of over $900,000 without having done anything. There's nothing that the school divisions can do to affect or change this rate. This is all really based on economic data. And just to point something out, this is just one piece of the formula, but from 2007 to 2009, the true value of real property in Poquoson actually decreased 0.9%. And to give you some comparison, the true value of real property just in 4 localities, Spotsylvania, Stafford, Fredericksburg, and Fauquier County, which are up towards northern Virginia, they had double-digit decreases, ranging from the high teens to the mid-20% decrease. So although we're seeing decreases, there are localities that are seeing much larger decreases. So this next slide, this kind of just gives you the history of the LCI in Poquoson for the past 5 biennia. And if you'll note that the first 3 years, the first 3 biennia from 04-06, 06-08, and 08-10, you'll notice that there was relatively unchanged for Poquoson. Now think about during that time period what was happening to the economy. We were seeing one of the largest economic expansions that we'd seen in quite some time. And even during that expansion, we were seeing a relatively unchanged or slightly changed LCI. Actually saw a decrease in those years. But then the big change came in FY 10-12. And what happened there, that data on FY 10-12 was based on 2007 data. And what happened to the economy was that Northern Virginia first experienced the recession before the rest of the state. So their LCI in that biennium actually decreased significantly, while Hampton Roads and large parts of the other parts of the state actually increased. And then in FY 12-14, which we're going to see coming out in this budget cycle, we're seeing another increase because this is based on, again, 2009 data. And in 2009, Northern Virginia was in the heart of that economic recession when we were just really starting to experience it. So eventually we will see some change. We just don't know when that's going to be, but we're going to have to see some economic recovery in other parts of the state before we see a significant change in Poquoson. And to give you some comparison locally, the 6 Peninsula school divisions Poquoson had the second highest increase, only behind York County. And of the 12 Hampton Roads school divisions, Poquoson had the third highest increase. And then of 86 school divisions statewide that experienced an increase, Poquoson was 16th highest increase. That kind of just gives you an understanding of how we compare really to the other parts of the state, and it's kind of surprising. And what we'll do going forward, the governor's going to release his budget on December 19th. At that point, we will know more of the specific initiatives of the governor. We'll also know some more specifics about VRS rates. But about specifics to Poquoson's budget for the next year, we won't know until the Department of Education releases that detailed budget for all school divisions, which should come by the end of December. The General Assembly begins its session on January 11th, and this is the long session, runs for 60 days, but typically it can go longer than that. However, I'm sure you're aware that the General Assembly has changed parties. It's now controlled by one party, so what we might see coming out from the governor here in December might be what we end up with as a final budget. So we'll just keep our eye on that, and any information that comes forward, we'll certainly bring it to the board.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bowen. Board, any questions, comments, Mr. Bowen? Glad I wore my dark suit for that presentation, Mr. Bowen. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your work. Next up will be the operations update from Mr. Pappas.
Chairman Carter, School Board, Dr. Parrish. Operationally, I'm happy to say that this is an uplifting report. The PCPS parent notification system, which you're familiar with, last year focused on notifications of school delays or closures. Well, we've unveiled a new component of that program, which is an outreach portion, and that allows school administrators, principals, to contact parents for important information such as a field trip's been canceled, which is actually one of the ones that we've already deployed, and other notifications that would help them, such as, hey, it's parents' night or back to school night, don't forget. It's a valuable component, and we've trained all of office administrators and the principals how to deploy that and respond when parents have questions. It's a nice added feature to what we already had. In accordance with the plans that we reviewed and laid out for schools and operations for their safety reports and the numerous things that we have to comply with, principals have been very diligent in getting all of their quarterlies and monthly reports done. Last week, in fact, operations completed its quarterly sprinkler inspection at the schools as well as the annual elevator inspection. In the area of transportation, school bus drivers continue to participate in what is known as the Peaceful Bus program. Both the elementary school and the primary school have been doing this with bus drivers as part of their overall anti-bullying campaign. And incorporating bus drivers in the program helps the overall continuity, and I can assure you it helps bus drivers. In the area of maintenance, we're working diligently to ensure that the capital projects, which can be funded through stimulus funds and which were approved by you last year, are on track to be bid and executed shortly. Of course, that entails a lot of spec writing and meeting with vendors, but we're up to the task. And then lastly, although today's weather would belie the fact, we are transitioning from air conditioning to heat. And we've actually done that in some cases. And as we do that, those pieces of equipment, boilers and circulating pumps that sat fallow all year, now are up and running. And as soon as we shut down the air conditioning, we will be doing significant preventive maintenance on those items in preparation for next cooling season. And that's the operations uplifting report.
Thank you, Mr. Pappas. Board, any questions, comments?
I only have one comment. I was able to see our brand-new little short bus today, and it looks great, and it looks safe. So,
Thank you, yeah.
Have, Mr. Pappas, have the bus drivers mentioned any noticed improvement with the Peaceful Bus campaign?
It really helps because it's a tool for bus drivers. We train bus drivers on what they can do, but this is a great reinforcement, and it's really cohesive because it dovetails nicely with what they're doing in the classroom and in the school buildings in total. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up will be our instructional update. Dr. Revia.
Chairman Carter, school board members, and Dr. Parrish, it's my pleasure tonight to continue with some uplifting news that because despite whatever may be the financial situation or anything else, we're committed to excellence in education, and that's what we're here to talk about tonight. So there are a number of projects that we have ongoing, and tonight's focus is going to be primarily on those projects that we are undertaking by virtue of the fact that we have had some mandates from the federal government. So we're going to start there. Mr. Bowen hid the clicker for me here. So, from a division perspective, some of the work that we're undertaking, and a lot of this work involves school board office staff as well as division staff in the schools. The first thing I want to talk about is the teacher evaluation system. When we received money from the federal government, we as the state of Virginia, that then funneled down to the school divisions, one of the things that came about as a part of this is the Virginia Board of Education made several decisions, and it said that we as a state needed to kind of relook at how we evaluate our professional staff. So each school division is undertaking this task, and this will be something that will be brought forward to you as we continue to do our work. There was a development of several new categories of teacher evaluation, and we are going to look at our current system, how it aligns with the requirements that came down from the state. We have to deploy this in 2012, 2013. So this is significant work, and because it does impact our professional staff, the committee will actually be made up of teachers from each of the 4 schools, and we have 2 administrators and myself. So this is going to be quite a challenge, and yet we look forward to it because we think it's going to be really important that our teachers are involved in helping us make decisions about how to evaluate their job performance in multiple categories. Another area that we are working on is the SACS-KC, or Advanced Ed as they now call themselves, accreditation system. You'll remember our long-range plan has a number of goals, and one of the goals that was codified into the long-range plan that we're currently under was that we seek district accreditation. This is quite a comprehensive process, and in an effort to alleviate the work on our schools by going after district accreditation, each school is not having to create voluminous reports. We're going to work on that primarily from the district level in creating and compiling those reports. But the way that we're going to approach this as a division is that through our standing committees, we're going to be gathering input from principals, from APs, from teachers, from parents, and various individuals. In fact, as a school board, you will be involved in providing feedback as we develop our report, and then I know that Dr. Parrish has alerted you to the site visit, which will occur at the end of April, April 22nd through 25th, and we'll have a 5-member multi-state team. There will be several people. There'll be 3 people from Virginia and then 2 from someplace else in the United States, and they will come and actually evaluate our school system. One of the interesting things and intriguing things about this particular accreditation process is that it looks at us holistically. It doesn't just look at SOL scores. It doesn't just look at attendance or discipline records or the things that you might see on our school division report card. It truly looks at what we do as a division to meet the needs of our students. So there will be a lot of reflection and review of operations and transportation, our finances, as well as a number of the support services that we provide. They will also visit our schools and talk to all the various stakeholder groups. So it'll be a very busy visit, but I think one that's very worthwhile in pursuing because it will allow us to get some external feedback about about the processes and how we approach meeting the needs of our students, as well as how we approach school improvement, how we look at the programs that we have in place and evaluate their effectiveness. So from a division perspective, those are two major projects that we have going in our division. Next, I want to look specifically, kind of bring back to the table, and it's sort of related to school improvement, is the DODEA grant that we received. One of the things that we know, reflecting on our own data, is that we are very interested in improving our students' achievement, and our data has shown that we had an area of interest where we really wanted to focus, and that was in the K-5 reading area. So we have a committee that's actually meeting for the first time this week. I see Ms. Butler and Ms. Wood are in the audience this evening. They are on the committee, as well as reading specialists, teachers from each grade level, and then we also have special ed as well as a resource teacher represented on this committee. And they are going to work over the next several months at reviewing our current reading program, looking at research-based options, programs that are very effective, and seeing what we can implement and deploy in our school division to continue to enhance our student achievement. We also are going to provide significant professional development in both the primary and the elementary schools, and instructional strategies related to improving literacy. And I think this is all very exciting, and one of the nice things financially is that by receiving the DODEA grant, we're able to fund the majority of this grant out of those particular items. Some of the funding for the work that we'll do will come out of our Title I funds, because we receive Title I funds to help with reading. And so it'll actually be a combination. So again, significant work. Once the Reading Program Committee completes their work, then we will look at revising our language arts curriculum, which we actually need to do K-12 based on VDOE's upgraded and new objectives. So we're having to do that in English and science. Another project, but not for tonight, we're mentioning. And finally, a project that is impacting significantly one school, and that's the elementary school, and that's Title I school improvement. If you will remember, we are held accountable to state accreditation. I've talked already about this external accreditation through Advanced Ed. We're held accountable in reading, math, science, and social studies for the state and for the federal government in reading and math. And there are 29 benchmarks. The elementary school missed 2 of those 29 benchmarks, and so we are now in mandated school improvement. And Mrs. Wood and Mrs. Feltman and Dr. Cataldo are in the audience tonight, and they have been meeting extensively because the mandates from the federal government are quite rigorous. So they've had meetings within, as a small group. They've also involved a leadership team from the elementary school who are talking about the various areas of improvement or interventions. There are actually 10 target areas that our elementary school has to identify based on very specific federal mandates, and developing benchmark. Data has to be collected and submitted to the federal government and state government every quarter. So this is quite a task, and I dare say a burden in some respect on our staff, but they are being champions about meeting because they know this is about trying to improve student achievement. So that again is yet another one of the many initiatives that we have on our plate, and are doing our very best to meet all of these initiatives and still focus on instruction every day. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Revia. Board questions, comments?
I have 2 questions on the reading program, the professional development led by William and Mary. Is this going to be on teacher work days or after hours, or how do you get that into a very busy teacher's normal schedule?
It's going to be a combination of those factors. Thank you, Mr. Melton, for asking. We do have some professional development that will occur during faculty meetings that our principals have already begun. We also will be doing some procuring substitutes to pull the staff out and have substitutes in the building while the teachers are being professionally developed. Some of the professional development will then follow up so that we have these trainers in our building to meet with teachers during their planning time. And we will also do some professional development during the Regional Professional Development Day. So we are trying to eke out every possible moment to provide the support to our teachers without detracting from the instruction on the daily classroom.
Did you have another one?
Yes, I did. On the school improvement, I know we said we missed 2 of the 29 standards.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure we're concerned about some of the others we might have been close to not making. I mean, the near misses.
Yeah, I would, and I'd like to speak to that too, because I want to remind the board that every year these benchmarks rise. So, that is still in play right now for us in terms of the federal benchmark. So, we're focused on the student achievement for all students, because remember, it's in 2 subgroups that we just missed. And in some cases, it was by less than 5 students. So we are, careful that we want all of our students reaching the same benchmark requirement. As I think I've mentioned before, there is the possibility the state is applying for a waiver, which could impact in future years what all of this means too, but we've got quite a ways to have that information from the state.
Thank you.
Dr. Revia, the new mandated teacher evaluation tool, how different is that going to be from what we currently use?
The committee will look at what our current system is, and one of the first things we're going to do is see how our current system aligns with the new standards from the state, the new requirements. There's 7 areas, and in just a cursory look at we already have had some of our staff members attending some regional meetings, there's much of what's already in our teacher evaluation system aligns with the state, so I think it's going to be more a perspective of reorganizing as opposed to completely taking and throwing away the current evaluation system and creating a brand new one. And that's why we think it's so important that teachers are a part of it.
One thing I do want to add, though, and this is while student achievement is taken into as one of the factors in our evaluation system, there's more specifics in it in the new requirements. And again, I want to echo what Dr. Revia said, that we are doing this because the federal government said in order for you to take stimulus money, states, you must do your teacher evaluation systems in this manner. And a big part of that was how much you included student achievement into your teacher evaluation system. So the state has put out the requirement that I believe it's 40%.
That's their recommendation, is that teacher evaluation.
Of the teacher evaluation will rest on student achievement. So we will be obviously working through that issue with the committee, but I just wanted to highlight why we are where we are and why that requirement's in place.
Thank you, Dr. Revia. Anything else, board? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we'll move into our consent agenda, and I'll go ahead and go through that. Item A is approval of the financial reports enclosed. Item B, approval of request for change to appropriation and school payroll enclosed. Item C, approval of personnel action enclosed. Item D, authorization to dispose of surplus property enclosed. Item E, authorization to accept and expend additional funds provided through the 2011-2012 No Child Left Behind Title 1A grant enclosed. And Title F, authorization to accept and expend revenue from sale of obsolete equipment enclosed. And I would like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. McDowell, could you please call for a vote?
Mr. Hucks,
Abstain.
Ms. Wilson,
Aye.
Mr. Diggs,
Aye.
Mr. Melton,
Aye.
Chairman Carter.
Aye.
The motion passed by a vote of 4 to 1 abstain.
Thank you. Other matters for consideration, we have 2 items here. A is approval of the minutes of September regular meeting and work session, which is enclosed. And do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes for the September regular meeting and work session that's enclosed.
Second?
Second.
Thank you.
Third.
Like an echo.
Any questions or comments there for the minutes? Okay, Ms. McDowell, could you call for a vote, please?
Mr. Hucks,
Abstain.
Ms. Wilson,
Aye.
Mr. Diggs,
Aye.
Mr. Melton,
Aye.
Chairman Carter.
Aye.
The motion passed by a vote of 4 to 1 abstain.
Thank you, ma'am. And Dr. Parrish, would you please introduce the next matter for consideration?
Yes, we are recommending to you this evening that you consider the approval of a request to accept and expend the reappropriation funds provided by the City of Poquoson. At the end of last year, we had just over $27,000 left, as we know, tight budget times. So we were saving throughout the year because we knew we were going to have mid-year cuts, which we did have again. But we did end up with that figure left at the end of the year. Virginia Code does require that money is then given to the city. Last night at the council meeting, the city council members voted to reappropriate that $27,000 back to you to utilize. What we're recommending is that you bring that money back into our budget and that we use that money as part of the one-time bonus that our employees will be receiving on December 1st. As you may remember, City Council provided $146,000 to us earlier this fall, which you then approved to use for a one-time, just over 1% of salary bonus to go to all employees in the school division. So by adding that $27,000, we now have a little over $173,000. So our employees would receive a bonus of 1.55% of their base salary, which we do plan to pay to them on December 1st. So with all that said, I recommend approval to accept and expend the reappropriation in the amount of $27,000, $27,021.82 for employee compensation.
Could I get a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion. I move that we approve the request to accept and expend a reappropriation of funds provided by the City of Poquoson.
Second.
Second.
Any questions or comments about this item?
Every little bit helps,
Absolutely.
and our teachers do a lot of hard work for it.
Anybody else? Okay, Ms. McDowell, could you please call for a vote?
Mr. Hucks?
Aye.
Ms. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Diggs?
Aye.
Mr. Melton?
Aye.
Chairman Carter?
Aye.
The motion passed by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you. Ms. McDowell, do we have any public comment tonight?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, that leads us to our communications and any other matters by the school board or superintendent. Dr. Parrish, would you start us out, please?
Thank you. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Hucks to the school board as well. We're certainly excited to have you up here, and we look forward to working with you in the years to come. And also a welcome to Mr. Cass, though he's not up here with us yet. He will be here in December, and we also look forward to working with you, Mr. Cass. I can't go through the evening without mentioning budget, and as you all anticipate, it is November, so this will be the theme of my comments as we move through the coming winter and spring months. Mr. Bowen has done a good job tonight of outlining the concerns that we have about the local composite index. We've been talking about that for months now, and we anticipated last year even that we would see that increase, which does indicate, according to the state, that there's an expectation that the locality actually contributes a greater amount to the school division. The other factors that we've been discussing with you continue to concern us. December 19th, we will have a much better sense of where we are. I have begun talking to community members and will be in the schools shortly. But what I am saying is this will be the hardest and most challenging budget year we've experienced. Those of you that have been on the board for the last 3 years probably can't believe that could be the case after the last 3 years, but there's no doubt that will be the case for us. We are going to have to make some very severe cuts that it will no doubt impact instruction in our school division, but we will be working with the community. We will have public forums again and hope to get as much input as we can from community members and staff members as we move through the coming months. But I really think it's important that our city and our community members understand that this is about to be a very, very difficult year for us. But we'll continue to update you as we move through the process. And we should have more information certainly when we get into January, once we've received the information from the Department of Education and have been able to start crunching some numbers. So, of course, now this seems odd for me to say, but I do wish everybody a very happy holiday next week. There is some good news. We'll have a break for our students and our staff, and I hope everybody has some relaxing time with their families. So, thank you.
Thank you. Kelly, would you like to give us school updates, please?
Okay. Today, the primary school celebrated the 50th day of school with a 50s sock hop. and they have collected $533 worth of pennies for part 2 of the Kids Island project. And the Poquoson Primary School is also partnering with Lauren Russell, who is a senior this year, for her Read to Succeed project, where students from the high school come and read to the primary students, and every month it's a different grade level, and each month every child in the classes gets to keep the book that is read to them by the high schooler, and this is helping her to win or to achieve her Gold Award project for Girl Scouts. At the elementary school, so far they've received 10 grants, which total approximately $2,800 so far this year. And today they had their annual Thanksgiving lunch, where the cafeteria staff served around 700 students, parents, and the faculty. The middle school, the 6th grade students attended the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame last week to reinforce their math skills. And their honor roll ice cream social will be held this Friday, sponsored by the PTO. The 8th grade will be taking their field trip to Washington, D.C. this coming Tuesday, the 22nd, which is really fun. I liked that. But the holiday musical, the 8th grade musical, will be Thursday, December 1st at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. The holiday band concert will be Thursday, December 8th at 7 p.m. in the auditorium, and the holiday chorus concert will be Thursday, December 15th at 7 p.m. At the high school, the competitive cheerleading team placed 2nd in regionals 2 weeks ago, I think, and this past weekend came in 10th at the state competition. The football team advanced to the first round of playoffs this past Friday, and Camille Freeman, who is a freshman, advanced to the cross-country state competition. I think it's the first that we've had or something in a long time. And ASVAB testing took place last week, and I believe we get our scores back this week. So I'm excited because I took the ASVAB, so I want to know how I did. And the high school received Governor's Bronze Award for Best Practices in Nutrition and Physical Activity. And the Key Club has raised over $1,000 for UNICEF this past month, and several of the teachers attended AP conferences and leadership conferences in the last month. Oh, and report cards were taken out this week, so that's it.
Oh, yeah, that little thing.
And that's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Hucks, anything?
Yes, I do. I have a belated recognition based on my observations as a parent. A few years ago, during my tenure serving on the boards of directors for Poquoson Youth Football and Cheerleading Association, as well as Peninsula Youth Football Association, Mr. Pirelli was kind enough to grant us permission to use a foyer at the far end of the middle school gym. It had a very positive impact on a few thousand athletes and parents, and it reflected very well from a diplomatic standpoint on our community and our school. Thank you, Mr. Pirelli, for your support. And the week before last Christmas, I dropped my high school aged daughter, Stephanie, off for school in the morning. The temperature was well below freezing. Mr. Wright was front and center on the sidewalk, greeting students, faculty, and staff as they arrived at school. I thought that was an excellent example of leadership. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Thank you.
I thoroughly enjoyed Mrs. Barefoot's interdisciplinary lesson with the owl pellets. That was wonderful. And I think that's really great about the yearbook, the high school, the recognition they're getting, and hope they can continue to strive to be recognized again this year. And that I had to speak to the fact that Dr. Parrish did a wonderful speech for the Kiwanis this morning, I've heard, and spoke about all the things that are going on in our schools, and of course about budget. So thank you.
I'd like to also make a comment about the presentation this evening. First grade class, I want to thank them for coming and doing that. It's very encouraging to see, even at such a young age, that we do the hands-on investigation type education. You could see by the pictures that were shown the excitement and the engagement of the kids in what they were studying. They could have very easily have learned the same lesson from a series of books and lectures, but anytime that we do the hands-on, the group thinking, the whole process of collecting the data, recording the data, putting together the presentation, really shows that at the very earliest ages we're setting them for that path that Poquoson's striving for. And it's just really nice for us to see the hard work that our teachers and staff are putting in to start that foundation at such an early age. And it's just indicative of our whole process here. I really appreciate being having visibility into that.
Thank you.
I think since the last board meeting, I was traveling out to Utah to do a accreditation of a school out there, and I was very interested in why they had a pre-apprenticeship program in their 12th year. And it was very obvious that we do it better here with New Horizons Regional Education Center, where we have an opportunity for 11th and 12th graders to do basically 2 years of preparation and career exploration. So they did not, I'm not going to say they didn't impress me, but at the same point, it's always nice to know that we're doing our students very well on the same type of educational opportunities. Since we met last, I've been to a Workforce Investment Board meeting, the Education Subcommittee, and all is well there, and the statewide Career and Technical Ed Committee, and that committee has just received our working agenda for the year from the state school board, and our next meeting will be in January. We've got to really hit the ground running then, because we've got a lot of work to do. And I will have to admit that the owl pellet has been my most thorough investigation here with the board so far.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, the owl pellet. I think that'll be talked about for a long time. Yeah. But if you noticed, I talked with Ms. Barefoot after the presentation as well. And not only were the kids enthusiastic and excited about it, like you said, Mr. Diggs, but so was she. And I think, we have hit these teachers year after year with budget cuts and everything that affects. But Ms. Barefoot tonight is exemplary of what our school system has. The dedication and the professionalism and the enthusiasm that those teachers still have for learning is passed along to our kids in the dire situation that we are right now. And I just think that speaks very, very highly of the schools, of the leadership in the schools, of the staff, Dr. Parrish and her staff, and I just can't say enough about the people that work for the school system. You guys are phenomenal. You never cease to amaze, and I appreciate all of your work. I really do. With that being said, do we have any material for board review?
No, not this evening.
Okay, thank you. We will adjourn, where we will go into our work session, and we'll be talking about budget, of course, enrollment updates, capital improvement plan, the board goals and objectives, and we'll be trying to set up a time for a joint meeting with City Council. So at this time, we will adjourn. Thank you.